Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a good movie. Okay, video over, goodbye. On a serious note, I don't need to tell you for the millionth time that this movie is incredible. The multitude of videos about it and the ratings say enough. But what makes this movie as great as it is to me is how Puss in Boots: The Last Wish made me feel emotionally seen and understood. Puss in Boots is portrayed as this overly confident, fearless hero to those around him. He's a legend after all, la leyenda. Throughout the film, it becomes clear that he isn't as fearless as he makes himself out to be and is ashamed by that fact, continuing to run from his problems, even more so as the literal embodiment of death finally reveals himself. Death makes it apparent to Puss that he's not necessarily hunting him down, but rather that he's always watching. Like the saying goes, death comes for us all. Instead of coming to terms with his mortality, he chooses to take the easy route in evading his turmoil, not once but twice. When first confronted with the inevitable fear of death, he decides to give up his life of adventure and retire in an old cat home. But once he finds out about the wishing star, he seeks it out in order to gain all 9 of his lives back. His anxiety ultimately catches up to him when it becomes to put further strain on his relationships, especially with Kitty Softpaws, as it is revealed that he left her at the altar. He is unable to settle down because the idea of his life of thrill and adventure becoming permanent and still scares him. His entire life was centered around chasing chaos and seeking danger, so when that rush could potentially end, he runs. He is a fearless hero because he runs before fear can set in. The way this film presents Puss's anxiety to the audience is unlike any other animated film, let alone any film, because it showcases a panic attack so accurately and isn't made into a punchline. This is the scene.
Puss, what's wrong?
Kudos to the sound design team for not only making such a sinister and eerie whistle from death, but letting the audience truly feel Puss's fear and desperation. The increasing heartbeat, the muffled background noise, coupled with the blurred shot of Perrito as he finds Puss. Like I mentioned before, not only does the scene feel so real, but the movie does what other films doesn't. Takes panic attacks seriously. The scene isn't played for laughs, or doesn't have Perrito slap or shake Puss to snap out of it. Instead, he assesses the situation and simply rests his head upon Puss, allowing him to slowly calm down. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't in complete tears when I first watched it, and even as I'm editing this, it still gets me. As someone who's been in that situation more times than I'd like to admit, it is genuinely refreshing to see any form of media understand human emotions to this degree. The final battle between Puss and Death signifies his growth as a character, becoming a brave hero instead of a fearless one, in which he manages to subdue death. For now. Not only does he accept the fact he isn't immortal, but knows that even though he cannot defeat death in the long run, he will continue to live and fight for his last life. This movie genuinely means a lot to me, because a day after Christmas, I got the unfortunate news that my grandma passed away, and I wasn't able to be there for her. The same day after I clocked out of work, I suffered one of the worst panic attacks of my life, all alone in an empty parking garage. I hadn't told anyone about it, let alone my own family, worrying I'd make them feel worse about the whole situation. My grandma's passing hit me hard, because just like Puss, the idea of life coming to a permanent end absolutely frightens me. I always strive to keep things lighthearted and refuse to present sadness around anybody, but this movie truly recognized my emotions. To have a film sit me down and showcase my emotions, my thoughts, and understand that this sucks, but that people are out there worth living for, that your life is worth living for, is why this movie made me feel understood and seen.